The resource that we're going to look at today is called the multiplication checkerboard. This is what it would look like in a traditional Montessori school. You have a wooden board like this. Ours is made from the laminated cards. You should have 6 cards in your pack and you just need to join them together with a bit of blue tack to create your board. The checkerboard is used to help your child practice multiplication, so it gives them lots of chance to reinforce the times tables. It helps them to manipulate larger numbers to be able to create and read and do multiplication with larger numbers. It teaches them long multiplication and also category multiplication, and it takes them through to abstraction at the end of the process, so that they're able to do quite sophisticated mental calculations at the end of it. So the first thing that you need to do is to introduce your child to how the checkerboard works. Now you can use your beads from last month, the laminated ones that you received in your pack, or if you've got your own beads you can use those ones too. A child who starts this will already need to be confident at counting. They would need to have had an introduction to multiplication. They need to know what multiplication is about and have had lots of practice with it. They will need to be able to do some of their times tables quite confidently, but certainly not all of them, because this activity can really help them to practice their times tables. So they definitely don't need to be able to do all of them, but they need to have a good background in the beginnings of them. So the children will know that this is a 5 bar, its value is 5. On this board, if we place it here, it's exactly that, it's 5, and we can show the children that this is a green square. The green is always used for units in Montessori, and we can see the 1 at the side, so we know that it has a value of 5. However, if we move it over here into the blue square, it now has a value of 50 because it's in the tens square. And if we put it here in the red square, which is the 100 square, it now has a value of 500. So 5,000, 50,000, 500,000, a million, 10 million, and 100 million. So once your child has understood that the value of the bead depends on the square that it's placed on, you can have a go at practicing with different ones, and you can ask your child, what's this bead, what value does this bead bar have now? And it would be 8,000. What is it now? It's 30 million. And then you can practice by filling up different bead bars all the way along and see if your child can read the number. This can be quite challenging for a child, and we tend to talk of them in families. So this here, this units, tens and hundreds, is a family, and that's just your basic unit family. Then here we've got the same green, red, green, blue, red, but this is a family of thousands. And again, here we've got green, blue, red, and this is a family of millions. So when they read the numbers, they read it as a normal number, but then say million or thousand, depending on where they are up to. So here they would look at that and read 575 million. And then they look at this section, 932,632. And you can explain to your child that when these numbers are written down with digits, we normally place a comma at the space where we would say thousand or million. So we count back 3 noughts and then place a comma, which makes it easier to read. Sometimes you'll see these numbers written with commas, sometimes you'll see them written with just a space, and sometimes there's nothing there at all to help you. And if a child comes across a number that doesn't have any spaces or commas, they can just mark in, they can count back 3 and then mark the comma where they would need to say thousand. When you practice, your child will need lots and lots of practice at this until they get really confident with it. Also practice with some of the boxes empty, because the children find it much harder when there's an empty box to know what to say. So here you've got 500 million, and then you've got your 5 million here, but nothing in the tens. So it would be 505 million, and then 930,000. Then we've got no hundreds here, so 32. So the children just need to remember that there's none of these, so that we don't need to say anything, and we just move on. In your pack, you have the first set of cards, which is labelled here as A. And these ones simply help the child to practice using the board and reading numbers. So they have a look at the card there, and they need to place those numbers onto the board, place the bead bars onto the board, always starting with the units. So they see there's 9 units, they place 9 in the unit square. Remind them always to start with the units, and they can also check to see if they're getting it right, because this number 9 is written in green and it needs to be on the green square. So then I've got 3 tens, 500s, 2000s, 7 10,000s, 300,000s and 1 million. And once they've laid them out, they can read out the number 1,372,539. We then move on to the B cards, and we're going to do multiplication, and we're multiplying by a single digit. So your child should be familiar with multiplication already, and perhaps have done some work with the stamp game or something like that. So they should be relatively confident with these, and choose, when you do it the first time, choose a number that your child is going to be confident with their times tables in. So the very first time they do this, we're going to show them how to fill in the board. We're going to be doing 54,372 multiplied by 3. So 54,372 is our multiplicand, and we're going to fill that in the squares underneath using the right colours. So, oops, that should be a 2. So I have 2 units here, so I write a 2 in the box. Then 7 tens, so I write 7 in the tens box. 3 hundreds, so I write 3 in the hundreds box. 4 thousands, and 5 tens of thousands. And then my multiplier, which is this one here, I'm multiplying by 3. I write over here in the grey boxes, I'm multiplying by 3. So we explain to the child that we're going to multiply the whole of this number by 3, starting with the units. So we're going to multiply the units by 3, then we're going to multiply the tens by 3, etc. all the way along. So we have 2 units, and we need to take the 2 units 3 times, because we're doing 2 multiplied by 3. And then we're going to multiply our 7 tens by 3. So we take the 7 bar, which is worth 70 if it's in there, and we need 3 of them. Then we have 3 multiplied by 3, so we have 3 3s on the 100 value square, so we've got 3 lots of 300. Then we have 4 multiplied by 3, so I need 3 4s, and their values are 4,000. And then we have 5 multiplied by 3, so I need 3 5 bars, and they're worth 50,000. Then once you have all of your beads out, we then need to explain to the child that we can only, when we have our answer, we can only have 1 bead bar in each box. So we need to do some swapping. So we always start with the unit box, and we count up how many we've got. So 2 4 6, and I'm going to swap the 2 bars for a 6 bar. Then I move on to my 10s square, and I've got 3 7s, which is 21. If your child doesn't know that that's 21, they can even count along the beads if they're still at the stage of needing to count to make their times tables. So I swap that for 21. When I put 21 on the board, I'm going to have 1 in that box and the 2 in there, because I've got 21 tens, which is worth 210. Then my next box, I've got 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. So that's 11 hundreds, which is 1,100. So it's like writing the 11 out with the 1 and the 1. We've got 3 4s are 12 and 1 is 13. And then I've got 3 5s which are 15 and 1 is 16. And then I have just one bead bar in each of these bottom squares, and then you can ask your child to read the answer. So 163,116, and then you can check to see if it's right. And if there's a mistake on there, if they haven't quite got it, you can look back and see maybe where the mistake was made. Was it with the adding up or was it with the multiplication? And if you want to, your child can write these down in their books and then check their answers afterwards, or you can do it without any writing. If your child is not keen on writing, it's perfectly okay to do these without any writing at all. If your child does like writing, then they can be encouraged to make a note of the questions and the answers as well. So the next step is card C, and this time we're multiplying by a 2-digit number. So we have 174,605 multiplied by 35. I've already written the numbers on down here in the colours that correspond to the categories, and along the side you can see we've got 5 units and 3 tens because we're multiplying by 35. So your child may have been asking you what the other spaces are for, because up till now we've only used the bottom one. And basically any squares that line up together are of equal value. So this here, 5 in the tens, that's 50. This is also 50. If this one here, 500, this is 500, this is 500. So now we're going to start using more parts of the board. So we're going to start, as we did last time, multiplying our multiplicand by the unit of our multiplier. Because we've got 2 now, we're just going to get a little piece of paper and just cover up the tens, because we don't want that to distract us for the time being. And we're going to multiply our units. So we're going to have 5 lots of 5. And then we're going to multiply our tens. So we're going to have 5 lots of 0, so we don't need to put anything in that box. And then our hundreds, so we need 6 multiplied by 5, so we need the 6's 5 times. And we carry on all the way along, multiplying each category by 5. So we've multiplied all of this by 5. Now we need to multiply it by 30. So we're going to cover up the units, and so we can focus on the tens. So now I need to have my 5 units 3 times. And then I have 0 tens 3 times. Well, that's 0, so I don't need to put anything in that box. Then I've got my 600s 3 times, so 3 6 bars. And then 4 3 times, so you're always looking down and across. Remind the child, look down and across. So we've got 4 taken 3 times. Then we've got 7 taken 3 times, and you can remind them that that's your 10,000s multiplied by your tens, so you're multiplying by 30. But essentially all they need to do is look at the number and go 1 taken 3 times. Now when you've got all your beads on the board like that, what we need to do is slide them down to the answer area. This is the bit that children really like doing. So anything that's in this square, it has the same value as this square because it's a tens square. So if I have 5 in here, it's worth 50, 5 in here worth 50. So we just slide them down diagonally into the same coloured square. I don't have anything in the red square to slide along, but I have these in the green 1000 square, so I move that down to the 1000 square. Then I've got these ones in the 10,000 square, so I slide those over. Slide these ones over because they're the 100,000s, and then the millions I slide over here. And then just as last time, we need to only have one bead bar in each category. When we get to the end, we start with the units. So I've got 5 5s there, which is 25. The children can count these if they don't know. So 2 in there and 5 in there. Then I've got 17. And I've got 31. 41. Hoping I'm doing these right. Then I've got 35 there. 51. This is quite challenging for the children, lots of addition here, but they can count the beads as well if they want to. I've got, oops, 21, 26, that comes to 31, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, and you can ask the child to read the answer. So we have 6,111,175. We have a look. 6,111,175. Then the next stage would be the D cards, and these ones are multiplied by a 3-digit number. So this one is multiplied by 526. It would be done in exactly the same way, except you would have a 5 up here. You would start by multiplying your whole multiplicand by your unit, and then by your tens, and then by your hundreds. And when you slide them down, you're sliding all the way down from here and adding them and doing your exchanging when you get to your answer at the end. So that's the D section. When they're getting confident with it and they're able to do that adding up at the end, then you can move on to section D. So when your child has worked through cards B, C and D, which are multiplying by a 1-digit, 2-digit and then a 3-digit figure, we then go back to card B, and we're going to do them again but in a different way. So we've written the numbers on that we're going to be doing 123,372 multiplied by 5. This time the children do need to be relatively confident with the multiplier, the times table of the multiplier. So I've chosen 5 here. You might want to start off with 2s and 5s. Pick one that they're working on learning, but not one that's going to make them struggle too much to begin with. So this time I start as usual with my units by units. So I've got 2 times 5, so I have my 2 bar, and I need to take it out 5 times. That's what we would have done last time, but now the children's getting a bit more confident, and we're going to skip that stage of getting them all out, and we're just going to say, well, I know 2 times 5 is 10, so I'm just going to put down my 10, which is a 1 in here and a 0 in here. Then I move on to the tens, so I'm doing 7 times 5, so the child then needs to work that out, which is 35. So they're putting the answer straight down instead of getting out 5 lots of each bead. And 3 5s are 15. 3 5s again. 2 5s are 10, and 1 5 is 5. Now there's less swapping to do this time, but as usual I start over here at the units. So I need a 6 here, an 8 here, another 6, and another 6 here. And then ask your child to read the answer. 616,860, and they can check their work to see if they've got it right. You would then go on to the next stage in the same way. So then we're moving on to C, which is multiplying by a 2-digit number, but we're going to do it without placing all of the beads down, just the answer beads. So we cover the 10 section of the multiplier as before, and we start with multiplying by our unit, which is 2. So 2 7s are 14, 2 3s are 6, 2 6s are 12, 2 3s are 6, and 2 is 2, and 2 5s are 10. And then we cover our units so we can concentrate on the 10s. And we do 4 7s are 28, 3 4s are 12, 4 6s are 24, 3 4s are 12, and 1 4 is 4, and 4 5s are 20. And then you slide them down as we did before, so that they're all in on the bottom row in the relevant categories. And then we do our exchanging. I think that one just rolled from there. So that's 15. And then we've got 7. And then 12. And another 7. And a 5. And then we read your answer. So we've got 11,572,754, and you can check your answer. I think I might have said 11 million then, but 21 million, there is a 2 in there. Just misread that one. 572,754. And then you would move on to D, which is when you're multiplying by a 3-digit number, and you do it in exactly the same way. The child works out the answer to the multiplication and places the answer in the squares, and then you slide all 3 sections down at the end. For the next stage, we're going to go back to C again. And this time we're going to be showing the children how to go from the concrete using the materials to the abstract of having it written down on paper. Up to now, if your child's been noting anything down, they would have been writing it down in a linear fashion with the numbers going across and then just noting their answer down at the end. This time we're going to show them how to record it as a long multiplication with the multiplier written underneath and with a line under it. And then we do the first step as we usually would. So we're concentrating on the units. But this time, as we go along, we're going to be making sure there's only one bead bar in each box right from the beginning. So 0 8s is 0, 4 8s are 32, 5 8s are 40, but I can see that there's a 3 in here, so I need to make it 43. 9 8s are 72, but I need to add this 4 on, so that's 76. 8/8 are 64, but I need to add my 7 on, which is 71. And then 3/8 are 24, add my 7 is 31. So that straight from the beginning you already have just one answer in each box, and you can show them how to record their answer here on paper. So what you've done here is you've multiplied the whole multiplicand by the unit by 8, and you would come up with the same answer. So they can record their answer down here starting from the units, and when they're doing their recording they need to make sure that the units are lining up with the units. So we have 0 in the units, 2